Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I want to talk about my October faves and fails, as well as some Sephora VIB recommendations. I know it's already started with so many new releases like the Beetlejuice collection coming out by Melt Cosmetics, Blood Money coming out, which I will not be picking up. There's so many products out there that are constantly being released, so it's important to anti-haul the ones that are useless and it's going to be a waste of time for everybody. So I'm going to quickly let you know what my fails of the month were before we jump into the VIB recommendations. So from the Pat McGrath holiday collection, definitely I recommend the big mega palette. I don't recommend the quads as much. If you're going to get one, get the blue one. Interstellar is definitely my favorite out of the three, although that's not to say that the Flora Fantasia or the Risque Rose were bad. I actually kind of liked Risque Rose, and Flora Fantasia had a really nice purpley shift in there. It's just that I would still pick the blue one out of the three. Natasha Denona Trio Chrome, I'm going to go ahead and say pass on that until it shows up in sale. It will show up in sale, whether it's Black Friday or not. Now, onto the mini color pop ones. I showed you guys in a video how I created a custom palette. I don't recommend buying all three. For the Baby Yoda palette, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, that's a good deal for the price, but it's not as creamy as, for example, let's say a Natasha Denona palette. It's good for the price, which is $16 if you're into Baby Yoda. But this palette, for example, it's super creamy and it knocks that out of the park. It's just that it's very expensive. So if you don't mind spending $129, then I would say go with the Trio Chrome. But I still think that it will eventually either get marked down, or if definitely with the 25% off that she currently has on her website, use that. And possibly she might have a BOGO sale around Black Friday as well. They all have something going on around Black Friday, and Sephora is probably the last place I would look for getting a deal. Even with the VIB deal, it's only 20% off. Now, onto the Juvia's Place collections. I've anti-hauled all these because I bought them and I absolutely didn't like any of them. I also found that none of the Lime Crime releases worked out for me this year, whether it was the Prelude or the Greatest Hits. They all seem to just appear very patchy and not a lot of variety with them, as well as the BH Cosmetics Ice Cream collection. The only palette out of that collection that I'd recommend is the Pistachio collection, but you guys know that's already sold out by now. And then moving on to the Huda Naughty palette. If you've been watching my videos, you already know that I absolutely hated this palette, and a few of my friends already reviewed this on Instagram, which I posted and reposted their videos. It just wasn't a good palette. It was just purely made for shock factor. Unless you own none of her previous releases, then maybe that might be worth it for the nude colors. But everything that she marketed in this palette just seemed very wasteful to me, and not worth $65, not even with a discount, not with a 25% off. Maybe 50% off, I don't know, but just seems like a waste of space to me, and definitely not a recommendation that I would give to anyone to buy this particular palette. Now, Kat Von D, however, or KVD Beauty, shall I say, which is no longer involving Kat Von D. This palette, actually, I was pretty surprised, not by all the colors, but especially by that one gold color in there, because I found it to be quite similar to the Natasha Denona gold palettes. Gold, and I'll compare that side by side for you guys to show you real quick. I was actually pretty impressed how similar these shades are, because normally when people go and buy the gold palette from Natasha Denona, they are really trying to get that duochrome shift that it has. Now, I'm not saying it's exactly the same. It's not quite the same, but it's pretty impressive for a $30 or $40 palette. Like, if you guys see side by side, they are almost better, if not identical, to the Natasha Denona gold. However, for the second gold that she has in the palette, which has more of a green shift, it doesn't have the green shift, but it's definitely comparable to that first gold, and it actually does have a sort of a duochrome shift to it. And it's another one of those sneaky marketing things that they forgot to do, like Wahala 2. They forgot to mention that in their marketing, that hey, actually this does include a multi-chrome in there, but most people didn't find out until the reviews got out, and by that time some of the palettes were sold out, but I believe it's still available at Ulta right now. So if you're interested in that sort of like red to pink to green multi-chrome, then the Wahala palette will solve that problem at a much cheaper price than Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath. Now, as far as the Dark Bloom released by ColourPop, I did find that each of the palettes by themselves were pretty murky and they blended into nothing. So I did make a custom palette and a custom video to show you guys how I did that, which I thought was alright. I still don't know if I still recommend any of these new ColourPop releases to anyone, even for $12. It really depends if you already have it in your collection or not. And then as far as the Juvia's Place Nubian Glow Eye and Lip gift sets, definitely don't recommend the yellow one, but the purple one I thought had a little bit more pigmentation to it. So if I were stuck between buying one or two of them, I would only get the purple one, which is called the Royalty gift set. And you can get them for about $20 at Ulta. So that's what I would pick up. And the Tapatios, I would pick up the golden one. And the Dose of Colors, I would just skip on the latest release, which is just like too grungy. Violet Voss, I would skip on that altogether just because they haven't been really significant this year. Now the Mini Zendo palette from Natasha Denona, we talked about that. It's just not as good as her previous releases, especially not as good as the Retro, and I had a hard time ranking it even above the Gold palette that came out last year. I think it was one of her less popular palettes to me, and I just didn't really feel like I could get a lot of use out of. Now some people might love it. Now you might like it if you don't have the Retro palette, but for me it was just like very repetitive and not something I would reach for or recommend. Now you might be wondering, well, if everything is being anti-hauled, then what is she really recommending for the VIB sale recommendation? To be honest with you guys, I don't have any recommendations for Sephora specifically. I never encourage buying from Sephora. You can always get a better deal buying directly from brands. My problem is that they've become just so greedy with their point system and their gift sets aren't that good. The only gift set I picked up this year was the Drunk Elephant night set, and I think it was like $104 after tax. Drunk Elephant does one of these every year, and I only picked up one because I had to restock on mine because expiration is so low on these skincare products that it's only worth it to buy it in a set because you got 4 more other items. So there's only one full-size product in this set that you're getting, and everything else is a mini in addition to the mirror. So if you were just to buy that Framboos by itself is $90, you're paying another $8 for all those little minis that you're getting. So it really depends if that's worth it for you, because some people do get acne with this brand and some people swear by it. For me, it's 50-50. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's why I find myself having to restock them at the end of the year. I usually never get to finish a full bottle of something before it already expires or the color changes. Like I noticed even with their SPF packaging, it changed within a year, and some claims that they previously had were removed, so it's a little sketchy. I'm happy with the Tatcha products that I purchased this year, so I can recommend those, but not with the Glow Recipe ones. And as far as the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice, I preferred their lip product, actually really nice and scented, but none of their other releases this year seemed to impress me, and definitely nothing from Urban Decay was interesting this year that I would be recommending it to anyone. I thought that the Stone collection was a thing to write home about. It was pretty much the same as previous releases, and I think Urban Decay has a long way to go to recovery. I thought that the Ultraviolet was terrible, and I think that after Christmas it'll definitely all get marked down if it hasn't already been marked down already. I think they just need to do away with all their products and just start all over again. And so many brands like this have been a disappointment this year, same as Huda Beauty with the Khaki Haze was the only one that I was interested in this year, and that product was pretty much a dupe for the Nomad palette by Juvia's Place, and just really disappointing. I think Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath were the only brands that held up this year, and only a few of their releases were actually really good and worth recommending. Now, as far as Beauty Blender, they did release a holiday set that I picked up, and I do restock my Beauty Blenders all the time. I haven't been able to find a sponge on the market that's been as good as Beauty Blender for me, that is soft and expands as much. So that's something that I would personally recommend for like a discount or a sale, or maybe if you can't buy it directly from beautyblender.com. But all other recent releases have been sort of a letdown, so I am not going to recommend something that was kind of mediocre to you guys. I am, however, very much anticipating the Beetlejuice release by Melt Cosmetics. I'm definitely considering picking up their liners and the palettes. Now the lipsticks, I don't know if I'm going to get a whole lot of use out of, because the red one we have plenty of, and the green one, Halloween's already over and we're wearing masks, so nothing really striking there for me. But the palettes and the liners, I think I'm going to probably get. Mascara, I'm not really excited for it, so anyway, let me know in the comment section what you guys are going to be picking up and what is on your do not buy list. And as always, make sure you're subscribed to be entered in giveaways, and I'll list in the details below when the next one is coming up. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.